Okay, hey everyone. So this is going to be a pretty cool video. I have a LG C1 on the left here, and I have a Sony A80J, or well, I guess in this case it's a CJ because I got it at Costco. I assume the C stands for Costco.
C is for Costco. That's good enough for me.
Anyway, but yeah, I originally bought the LG C1 thinking it'd be great for movies and games and stuff like that, and yeah, it was a really good price. It'd come down and yeah, it looked like a good deal. But then the Sony A80J over here came down as well, and so originally the Sony A80J was like hundreds of dollars more expensive than the C1, but now it's only $100 more. And so I was like, ooh, I've heard a lot of good things about the Sony A80J, so I thought I'd try it out. And yeah, I'm gonna try some comparisons on here that probably I think a lot of, because I've watched a ton of comparison videos, and I don't think people have really done these kind of comparisons. Like, I don't think people are buying these TVs to play a Nintendo 64 on them, for example. I think usually people buy them with systems like the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, and I don't have either of those systems. And so yeah, anyway, I'm going to be putting these TVs through different paces that probably most people don't usually do. So anyway, what I have, let me explain my setup here. So I have a Denon receiver, and it's duplicating the signal from a 4K Apple TV. And I was originally, I don't know if you can see this, but this is something my friend Lance Neon gave me a long time ago. It's a HDMI duplicator, and it does not work. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong with it. Or maybe it's really just a switcher, I don't know. But anyway, this is better anyway, because now the signal is being duplicated and all of it's 4K glory. And yes, it does look nice on both TVs, I will say that. And I'm going to make a decision on which one looks the best. So you can see we're here in the Apple TV. We'll go down to video, and you can see that we are indeed in 4K Dolby Vision on both TVs. I hope you can see that. Anyway, and then one thing too is I'm going to go into match content. I'm going to match the dynamic range and also match the frame rate of the original content, because yeah, with these movies I'm going to test. I want to see how both TVs handle 24 frames per second content. So yes, I do want that on to match content. And by the way, the LG C1, so this is one point that the LG C1 has right out of the box. Both of these TVs are just straight out of the box. Haven't really done much to them. As far as settings go, the LG is basically just straight out of the box. No settings changed. Besides, I've placed it in, as you can see here, we are in Dolby Vision Picture Mode Cinema. So this is a slightly darker image than the Cinema Bright, I think is what. Oh no, Cinema Home. But I think it should be more accurate. And since we're in a dark room right now, I'm gonna put on Cinema. So I changed that. That's the only thing I changed on the LG. Now on the Sony, on the other hand, I had to change a few different settings to make it the same, but I think it will be good. First off, I had to enable Dolby Vision input on the HDMI. Because it was not. It was just on standard, and for some reason when it was going through the Denon AV receiver, it was not recognizing the Dolby Vision signal, and so when I plugged it directly into the TV, it was working fine on the Sony, but yeah, it was not working through the Denon. So anyway, I had to do a bunch of research and figured out how to do it eventually. I'll just turn this on while I'm talking so we can start seeing some of this stuff. But so that's one thing that I changed on the Sony. And then another thing, and then I also changed it to Dolby Vision Dark. The default on the Sony was also the bright, kind of like the LG, but since we're in a dark room again, I'm repeating myself, but I did the same thing on the Sony just to make it so it's on the same mode. And then another thing that I changed on the Sony was I turned the light sensor to off. It was on by default, but I don't want this to change. Like I don't want the light sensor to make the image dimmer since we're in a dark room. And I checked it on the LG, and maybe it's because I'm on a newer firmware, but it was off by default in the energy saving section. By the way, this light sensor on the LG is like very, very deep into menus. It was very hard to find. I actually had to look it up on the YouTube video of someone turning it off. And they were on a previous firmware, so it didn't even look the same as mine. But anyway, I found it eventually. But yeah, it was off by default on the LG. So now, though, that should be the same on both TVs. So yeah, we're in Dolby Vision on both for watching a movie, and we have we're in the dark mode where we should maybe it won't get as bright, but we should get more details in dark scenes. So that's my hope. And yeah, I guess we'll go into this. All right, and then this is me from the future. It's the next day. I just forgot to mention something in the video. There was one other thing that I did on the C1 as well before doing this comparison. So on the C1, it was when I first turned on the TV, there was a lot of vertical banding happening, so you could see very distinctly vertical lines going all the way across the screen. And I was kind of worried right now because, you hear sometimes these OLED panels are kind of a lottery where you might get a good one, you might not. So I thought maybe I got a bad one. But then I went into the OLED care settings and did the pixel refresh on the C1. I actually did it twice, I think. And even after the first time, it was almost all the way gone. And then after the second time, you really can't see it hardly at all. So anyway, but that is something to point out, though, that the Sony just looked good straight out of the box. So I don't know if they already did that in the factory, like what I've heard, where they calibrate this stuff. They spend the time and money to calibrate in the factory. But yeah, I didn't have to do the pixel refresher on the Sony to get it to look great. So anyway, that is one thing that is different than just out of the box settings on the C1. So just wanted to point that out. Anyway, back to the past and the comparisons. Here we go. Oh, and one thing too that I like about this Sony is you can see, oh, well now you can't because the thing changed. And these TVs are really dark. Okay, I guess we'll do the fish one. Okay, so you can see this remote, kind of. But anyway, this Sony remote, it just controls the Apple TV right out of the box. See, I'm controlling this right now with the Sony remote. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, whereas I'm sure you can do it with the LG too. It's just that it wasn't like that out of the box. Oh, and then also I'm going to change this to the audio to the TV speakers for the Sony, just because I've heard it has really good speakers, so I'm not going to use my surround system right now. Yeah, supposedly on the Sony TV, the screen is the speaker. And so, yeah, whatever engineering they had to do to get that to work, supposedly works really good. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So yeah, I'm going to go into, let's do, I like to do Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. I think it's a really good movie. Even though some people don't like it, I think it's really good. And I think it's good for testing this kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to restart it. And let's see here. I am going to actually... Okay, so let's see. Did you see right there? The Sony... I'm going to turn this down too. Because I don't want them to copyright my video. So I'm just going to turn down a little bit. But yeah, the Sony loaded the 24 frames per second signal faster than the LG. So like, for example, if I go back to the menu, let's see which one loads the 60 frames per second faster. So you can see they both did it for a second there. And then see the Sony was slightly faster. Although it's really a fraction of a second, so. But yeah, anyway, let's go back into it. So now we're switching to 24 frames per second. So yeah, you can see the Sony is faster at loading that. All right. Yeah, and this is cool because when it's dark, it's dark. Yes. You can only see the little lights from my surge protectors down on the floor. All right, so yeah, you can tell that the LG has a faster response time. The screen comes on that faster. Wow, this is like kind of surreal to have like this huge, super wide screen with all these stars. Man, I wish I could just keep both TVs, but that'd be a little expensive. Wow, yeah, the stars look really nice. Yeah, the text looks good on both TVs. I would say and again, I'm not calibrating these TVs. I don't know how to calibrate them. I'm sure I could learn. I know I could learn, but I don't really have a desire to do that right now. And I think a lot of people that use these TVs are just going to use them the way they are out of the box. And so I think that this is a fair test. I think this is still, you can look up other YouTube channels where they do, calibrate everything. Now, what I have heard is that the Sony A80J is almost dead on accurate when it, like out of the box. Sony actually spends extra money to calibrate them in the factories. So I guess that's one thing to keep in mind. Yeah, so this is kind of a darker scene. Let's see. Let's skip forward a little bit here. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna turn this down a little more. I just really don't want them to copyright my stuff. So yeah, it looks pretty good, right? So yeah, they really look really similar. Maybe it's because they're. Oh wait, hold on. Let's back up there. I think I saw something. No, not that far. See, now I'm using the Apple remote because it has really good, um, like fast forward features. Okay, right here. Yeah, you can use your thumb on it. It's really nice. Whereas the Sony, it just does like 10 seconds, I think, forward and back. Now look at this guy's face. Yeah, yeah, you can see more details of his face on the Sony. Interesting. The LG is darker on like the dark side of his face. Um, yeah, there's more detail on the Sony, so that's interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily better because it does kind of have a punchy look when it's dark like that on the LG. But yeah, you do see more detail in the Sony with in the dark and the shadows. At least on that scene. All right, this is probably good for now. I'm going to, just so we're not like watching the entire movie, I want to go to another scene where it's brighter. I think I'm going to go to that, yeah, where they're in that bright room talking. Let's see here. It's about right here. Is that about where it starts? Interesting. And actually, I'm thinking I'm going to put it in Japanese just because I think it's less likely that they'll copyright it if they're talking in Japanese. Whoops, not Japanese subtitles. No subtitles. Not Japanese language. Come on. There we go. That's the cool thing about Disney Plus. They've added like Japanese to all their movies almost. It's really cool. All right. So yeah, I mean, both TVs look really good. See, even like right there on their faces, there's just more detail on the Sony in the dark areas, which I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that because I do like it when it gets dark. All right, let's look at this now. All right, I actually want to. Let's see here. I want to pause this and just look at this for a second because I remember when I was watching this before, I was looking at the C1, and I actually thought that the C1 didn't quite have as much detail in their faces. And so I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to push play here. So see, like right there on her face. This text will go away so it doesn't, so it gets brighter. There we go. It's really sixes. It's, I don't know. I really even like looking at her back there. Here, let's move the camera forward and we can look at it. You can see that lady's face. So this is on the Sony. And then coming over here to the LG C1. Or even like the flowers in the background. Looking at that too. Yeah. Maybe looks... it's pretty similar, actually, to tell you the truth. Now the colors, I will say the colors look more saturated on the LG. Which is interesting. Like the red, it looks a little bit, like her dress looks a little bit more red on the LG. Let's see, I set this camera up again. There we go. Yeah. Alright, let's keep playing this for a second here. But yeah, you can see that the LG is loading the pictures faster. That's one thing you really notice. But now besides that, I don't know. Let's see when it looks, if it shows that window again. Yeah, they really look almost identical on this movie. We might have to go into a game. Okay, now right there, now her dress looks more red, like I was saying, but on the LG. But besides that, I mean, they're really pretty close. Oh, that time it didn't load the 60 frames per second. Interesting. It's because I'm still in 24. Oh yeah, I think I was. Okay, so yeah, there's that. Yeah. I'm just kind of curious now. I'm going to try putting it into... oh, okay, now we're going into 60 frames per second. So that's actually kind of a cool feature. So Disney Plus will keep you in 60 or 24 frames per second when you're in the app sometimes. So then it doesn't have to, that slight little loading dark screen. I'm just kind of curious. Let's do a 4K SDR signal here. Yes, I can see that. Let's see if that looks any different on the... Okay, so see now it's going back into 24 frames per second. Maybe it's a bug. Alright, whatever. Alright, so now let's go back to continue watching on this Star Wars. No, see now it's switching 24 frames. I don't know what's going on. Alright, let's go back to... I'm actually going to use the Sony remote to go back 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Sometimes it's easier just to do it that way. So now this is an SDR. Yeah. Still looks pretty similar. Of course, now that we're in SDR, I don't know what... I guess I should probably check to see what the picture setting is now. Let's see here. So, Dolby Vision, dark. Oh, are we still in Dolby Vision? Yeah, I think we're still in Dolby Vision. Okay. Alright. Okay. It's fine. I think that's good enough for movies. I think most of the movies we're going to watch anyway is in... what do you call it? It's going to be in Dolby Vision anyway. I think that's just the way a lot of movies are nowadays. So, wow, now that part, now Disney on this screen, the text Disney is brighter on the Sony. Are we in Dolby Vision right now, or are we in SDR? Yeah, see, we're in SDR. Interesting. So SDR actually appears to be, yeah, SDR is noticeably brighter on the Sony. Wow. Okay. Wow, I wonder, wow, that'll be interesting to see how that carries over into games. But yeah, there's a lot more highlight details on the Sony. It actually looks like HDR. That's very interesting. And SDR, I've heard arguments that SDR actually is better than HDR just because it's, it's a standard that's been around for a long time, and it's a real standard. It's not like HDR where, I guess Dolby Vision is kind of standardized, but then it still, depends on how bright your TV can get, and it's not always the same as what, they're mastering it in the studios and stuff. But yeah, anyway, let's I'm going to pause the video and we're going to switch over to the Nintendo Switch. Haha. All right, so I decided to test one more movie here in Dolby Vision HDR, and actually this one I noticed quite a bit of a difference here. So yeah, the colors look a lot more saturated on the LG C1 than they do on the Sony OLED. Yeah, it's very interesting. And it is quite a bit darker as well, like you can see on the side of his face on the Sony compared to the LG. Yeah, I'm gonna assume that this one is more real alive just because they say that Sony's are calibrated, but I kind of like the way the C1 looks just because it's more, the colors are more saturated. It kind of pops out of the screen more. But anyway, yeah, interesting. Didn't notice too much of a difference in Star Wars, but yeah, it seems like there's more of a difference on here. So yeah, anyway, just wanted to add that. All right, and now we have the movie again, and this is in 4K SDR this time. Same movie, and yeah, I actually kind of like the way it looks in SDR more than it did in HDR, to tell you the truth. I've kind of heard other people say that as well, that SDR a lot of times looks better than HDR. But yeah, I feel like HDR was a little washed out on the Sony A80J or CJ. But yeah, SDR looks really good on both TVs. I do think that there's a bit more detail though on the Sony. So yeah, I've heard the Sony is really good for SDR content, so. But I actually might just keep my Apple TV set to SDR because yeah, I think that this looks better than HDR, which is interesting. But anyway, let's maybe look at Star Wars real quick just to see if that looks different in SDR. All right, here's Star Wars again. Yeah. Yeah, I would say the Sony, wow, yeah, the Sony A80J is definitely a lot brighter on SDR for movies. Then looking, yeah, even in here, wow. Yeah, the Sony A80J really shines on SDR. Yeah, it's like how Sony, they really optimized their Sony Trinitron TVs back in the day. And it's like they've taken that knowledge over, so they're really experts on SDR content. Whereas their HDR, I feel like wasn't as good as the C1 actually. So anyway, now we have it in Spanish, of course. Yeah, nice, cool. Anyway, on to the next test. Oh, and I forgot to mention that on both of these TVs I just put them in cinema mode for just the SDR 4K. Forgot to mention that, but yeah, even on these scenes, yeah, the Sony looks better than the LG C1. So on SDR. Anyway. Alright, so here we are on the Nintendo Switch. That was actually kind of cool. I just turned on the Switch and then just switched automatically to the Switch. Wow, I just said Switch a lot of times. Alright, so. Alright, I am seeing some differences here. Now, I have hooked the Switch up to both of these TVs before. And I put the LG in game mode before. Let's see if it was smart enough to recognize that this is the switch now. Yeah, so see, it's smart enough to know this is the switch coming through the HDMI, or sorry, the, what do you call it, the den-end receiver. So that's cool. The LG just kind of knows what you're doing, which is kind of cool. And see game mode's on. Oh, and then actually, I guess this is something I'll show you too. Whoops, not that. I want to go to the game optimizer menu, which actually is pretty cool over here on the LG on the left. Let's see here. Turn up my... There we go. Sorry, I was fixing the gain on my microphone. Can't really tell what it's at, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Alright, so anyway. Yeah, so I turned up... so on this LG on the game mode, I do think that this is a pretty cool feature. Now, on default, this OLED Motion Pro was on off, and so I'm going to turn it to auto, just because hopefully to make... Actually, I'll leave it for off now, just because that's the default value, and then it's just on standard genre. You can change it to like first-person shooter, role-playing game, real-time strategy. I actually kind of like the look of the role-playing game just because it kind of makes stuff darker, but I'll just leave it on standard for now just because that's this default. Yeah, and then everything else is the same. Blue light off. Yeah, anyway. And then on the Sony here, now I put the Sony in game mode as well before. Let's see if it was smart enough to recognize. Nope. It says it's in standard, so... Let's go back down to game mode. Alright, so now we're in game mode on both TVs. Great. And yeah, everything looks pretty good. Now I'm noticing, yeah, the Sony is, it's a warmer color. Like I don't know if you can, yeah, I think you can see on the camera, but the Sony is, it's just warmer on the background there. So that's kind of cool. I guess it's more accurate maybe. Wow, the Sony also looks brighter. Yes, the Sony definitely looks brighter on this SDR switch mode. Let's go into Breath of the Wild, I guess, first. Yeah. Wow, yeah, the LG looks a lot dimmer in SDR, kind of like with the Apple TV. I wonder if this is going to be a recurring theme. Yeah, the LG looks like it has a cooler hue as well, just out of the box. I know you can go in and calibrate and change colors, but I'm just doing whatever, whatever LG thinks is best for, out of the box, same as Sony. Okay, now right there, now the sound was kind of tripping up there going into the TV, into the Sony TV, so I hope that isn't a thing. Oh, yeah, it sounds weird. It's like cutting in and out. What's our sound mode on? Now, this is something that was not happening on the movie, but yeah, something weird's going on with the sound here. See, it's on TV speakers, not audio systems, so maybe I have to put the switch onto... I think it's coming out of both TVs, actually. Yeah, I think I'm hearing it out of both TVs. Well, anyway, where is sound? Here we go. Wait, hold on. There we go. So we sound in here. So I'm going to put on stereo. Hopefully that... No, it still is weird. Okay, put it back to surround. Yeah, but even in these menus, wow, yeah, the Sony just looks a lot... Maybe this, because that's on. Okay, so I turned off the sync with the TV mode. And I'm going to put sound... Okay, yeah, let's do a test on sound, sure. Yeah, it's coming out both TVs. Interesting. Okay, cool. Wow, yeah, something trippy's going on with the sound right now. So I guess that's something. I don't know if it's because I have both TVs hooked up at the same time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to. Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm going to go to audio system for the speak for the sound. Okay, so now it's coming out of all my speakers all around the room. I guess if we're gonna do that, I guess I better. I have my center channel inside of this console down here, inside of this entertainment center, just because that's the only place I can fit it. So yeah, I just open up the glass when I do surround sound. But anyway, yeah, because that was gonna be annoying. Yeah, now it sounds good. So anyway, looking at the picture quality, so possibly something weird with the Sony. Well, and the LG for that matter, for going through the speaker sound. So yeah, that's one cool thing about this game is you can just have the horse just ride itself. And now we can look at the picture quality. Wow. Yes, there is a big difference. See, when I was playing before on the Switch, on the LG, I felt like I wasn't blown away. Like it just didn't look like next gen to me. I don't know. It just I mean, it's not like it looked bad. I mean, you can see it right now, but yeah, the Sony on this. So this is an SDR game, not HDR. Yeah, it looks better on the Sony. And I mean, I don't really see any. Let's see if there's. So now we're in game mode on both. I really can't tell a difference on like input lag. The LG is maybe a little bit faster. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. It's not as big a difference as it was in the Dolby Cinema mode. Yeah, this is very. Yeah, I think I'm going to like this with the Sony. Now let's look at some of this text because I've noticed that the text sometimes when these are in 1080p and then it's upscaled to 4K, the text suffers. So I'm going to look closely at this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here on the LG on the left, it's not bad, but it's a little blurry. The Sony, the Sony is sharper on the text, but it's also a little. Like it kind of shows some of the flaws, I guess. And I don't have the M Classic turned on right now. I do have an M Classic hooked up though. I'm going to try to turn that on right now, see if that smooths anything out. All right, there we go. Yeah, it did smooth out the text a little bit. Yeah, it's sharper on the Sony, but it also shows more of the flaws on the text. So yeah, I think I prefer the look on the text, at least on this game, on the C1. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of sixes really. Now let's look at some of the other stuff. Let's actually let's move closer. So here's the Sony. Let's maybe turn around the camera so you can see Link's happy face. Or I don't know, does he smile in this game? Oh no, he does not smile. He frowns. He frowns at us. So let's look at Link's face here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it looks nice. It looks really nice. Now let's look over here at the C1. It's quite a bit darker. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as detail and stuff goes, it's pretty similar. But yeah, I do like the way it looks on the Sony more though. And like you can see like down here, let's look at this. You can see like I can see some stuff moving. I guess you can see that on the Sony as well. But yeah, the Sony's definitely brighter on this SDR game. Interesting. So yeah, it pops with the brighter screen on the Sony. It just pops out of the TV more. So anyway, let's go into a Nintendo 64 game. You can see I have two Nintendo 64s here. Wow. Yeah, looking back and forth on this Sony's just so much brighter. Yeah, so so one of these is the Japanese version. The only way you can tell a difference is that the name on the English version is just Nintendo 64, all lowercase and then a hyphen, whereas on Japanese it's Nintendo with all uppercase. So yeah, I guess which one should we do? I guess we can go into the Japanese one. Let's go into the English one. I'm learning Japanese. 日本語が話せます。でも、ちょっと難しいです。Alright. Yeah, this Sony just looks a lot brighter. Alright, so let's go into Mario 64, I guess. I'll also be doing this on a real Nintendo 64.
Mario.
Wow, yeah, even like everything looks brighter on the. Alright. Oh, and this will actually be a good time to test the. Let's see, I'm going to turn down the volume on this so it's not fighting against it. This Denon surround system is really nice. Alright, there we go. Alright. This would be a good test. I know my friend Lance Neon, he likes to look at this on either this or on the Mario All-Stars collection because it's it jumps around quite a bit. On this part where it scans across, at least on the Switch, on a digital TV. Let's see what it looks like. Yep. Yeah, well, I actually didn't think it looked too bad on the Sony there. I've heard the Sony has really good motion too. Let's try running around just a bit here. Wow, this text does not look very good. Alright, wow, yeah, holy cow. Yeah, the LG on the left here, it looks like the Wii U version of the game where they put a dark filter over everything to help people who have seizures. Yeah, that's what the LG reminds me of. Oh, they got the camera controls right. So they're inverted. Yeah, so running around in circles here, I think they look pretty similar. Now, just to give the LG its, since the LG does have, more gaming features apparently with this game optimizer mode, I'm going to turn on, let's see here, the Motion Pro. Let's try high. Oh, wow, yes. Yeah, you can see the flicker. It looks like there's some CRTs where if you turn up the brightness really high, then you can see the flicker on the CRT, and that's what this kind of reminds me of right now with the LG when you set that on high. Yeah, it seems like it is pretty smooth though. Now, which one is smoother, the LG or the Sony? Just kind of run around. I actually still think the Sony looks smoother. Well, I don't know. Maybe the LG. I'm looking at Mario's hands. I don't know. They look about the same actually with smoothness when that setting's turned on. I'm going to turn on auto because that flicker is annoying on the LG right now. So I think I'll probably just, yeah, auto looks a lot better. It's not flickering as much now. Yeah, motion looks pretty good. Let's go into that first scene again. Haha, that's cool. When you reset the game, it's like you push the reset button on the Nintendo 64 where it has the lines. That's a pretty cool feature. Alright, so let's watch this opening again.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I am here to keep you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool. Peach.
Yeah, there's one thing that's annoying about this emulator is that there's the gray bars on the side. Alright, let's see what this motion looks like. So again, we have the Motion Pro set to auto on the C1, and then the Sony is just whatever Sony puts for their motion stuff. Yeah, it still looks smoother on the Sony. Yeah, it still looks smoother. Yeah. So there you have it. The Sony looks smoother, and it's brighter. I think Sony is the company for older gaming, which is interesting because they make the PS5. But yeah, their TVs are. I think the LG is probably would be better for the PS5. I assume. I don't know. I don't have a PS5. What am I saying? But at least for the Switch so far, I definitely like the Sony more. All right. Well, let's just do one more game. Let's do Mario 64, or sorry, Mario Kart 64. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you something cool. Actually, I'm going to go into the Japanese version on this because it's got weird voices. It's kind of cool. All right. Yeah, input lag looks about almost exactly the same on both TVs. Did you hear that? It's like some Japanese kids saying Mario Kart. All right. Yeah, the text does not look as good on a digital TV as it does on a CRT. That's okay, we're not comparing CRTs right now. Oh yeah, did you hear that? Mario Grand Prix. Could you hear that? It's like a different voice that says all this stuff. Turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, now this is something that is interesting. You can see on Mario's face. I think I'll play this game on the 64 too and just show you. But you can see it's like, and I've heard this is an emulation error, but you can see that there's like it's like his face is divided into 4 grids, and it's not evenly divided up. Or like you can easily see a line here, like you can see on Wario's face, which I don't think that shows up on the original 64. Like you can really see it on Peach's face too. You can see like it's like divided into 4 sections to test out on the 64. And then yeah, you can see it on the LG as well. Anyway, oh, and look, his name is Koopa on the Japanese version. All right. And then, whoa, what on earth? Toad's name is Kinopio. Oh, wow, and he sounds like the Mario Party Toad. All right. So it's interesting because the names of the characters on the other screen were in English characters, but now they have the names of the tracks here in katakana, which, yeah, whatever. Yeah, the Sony is a lot brighter. It's a lot brighter on this SDR stuff. Yeah, the Sony is it's a very pleasing image, I'd say. Wonder if we change, let's see here. Wonder if we change some game modes. Doesn't mean. So me as a user, as a standard user who doesn't know much about calibrating stuff, I'll be like, okay, well, Let's turn up black stabilizer and see if that makes the image brighter. Alright, turn it up to 20. White stabilizer. Have better quality of bright scenes in the game. Alright, let's turn that up too. So turn both of these up. So this is to have better quality in dark scenes and better quality in whites and bright scenes. Okay. So let's see if that makes it closer to the LG. Or sorry, to the Sony. Okay, so now it looks, the Sony still looks brighter, but it's, the Sony still looks brighter, but the LG is definitely brighter now that we turned those up. But it still looks more blue, so now I'm going to say, okay, well let's go into, I think I saw a blue light option on here. So let's do reduce blue light, level 1. Alright, level 1 kind of gets it closer to the Sony. Let's try level 2 and see what that looks like. Ooh, wow, that really reduces the blue light. It actually is kind of a nice, pleasing... I think I would play around with this stuff. But just for comparison's sake, I think level 1 reduced blue light actually gets it closer to the Sony now. So now, going into the game optimizer mode, this, from my untrained, calibrating experience, is how we get it closest to the Sony. And the Sony is still brighter. Like you can look at the star icon up there at the top. Well, no, you can't. Look, there's little stars that come off on the Japanese version. Or is it just because I'm playing in HD so I can see it? No, I don't think that was on the 64. But yeah. But see, I got another star. So you can see there, the star's just brighter on the top of the screen there on the Sony. So, yeah. Alright, so movies, about the same, at least in HDR. Now, Nintendo Switch gaming, SDR, yeah, it's the Sony. The Sony definitely wins. So, alright. Now let's go into the original Nintendo 64 and see what that looks like. I'm going to pause the video. Alright, so here's our trusty Nintendo 64. Just going to explain this setup here real quick. Out of a standard 64 with expansion pack, although it probably won't matter in these games we're going to play right now. And then we have a Nintendo 64, this is a Super 64. Just to convert the S-video signal into HDMI. And then I have it hooked up to an M Classic here, which you can kind of see there. And then I have it set to the blue Classic mode, so it'll output at 4:3, which is cool. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Oh yeah, and then also I'm going to turn on the smoothing mode. That's when this little lights turns on, just because I think that's the best way to get a good picture out of the 64 on HD TV, in my opinion. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to turn this on, and we're going to do Mario Kart 64 since that's what we just did on the Switch. All right, there we go. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this real quick on just the Super 64. Like the difference that it makes with like the text and stuff. So like you can look at Donkey Kong as well. Actually, the screen is going to change, so let's go into here. So like, take a look at that, like how they look. It looks fine, right? But it is blurry. Now watch when I turn on the the smoother. Everything just looks a lot smoother. So anyway, that's a whole other video by itself. But yeah, that's not the focus of this video. I just wanted to show you my reasons why I did what I did. Alright, so anyway. Alright, now this is not the correct aspect ratio, which is interesting. I thought I put it on classic mode. So let me check my M Classic real quick. Hold on. Alright, I do have it in the classic mode on the M Classic, so I'm not sure why it's not doing the right aspect ratio. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably something with my HDMI setup where the receiver is changing the signal or something like that. I don't know. But it's okay, because we can go into settings and change it. Now, one thing I am noticing, just, plugging it directly in, no changes. I am noticing that the LG is clipping off some of the image. I can notice that right now. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So you can see that there's these, actually you can't see because it's all black, but this is the edge of the TV. And from the edge of the TV right here, there's about this much of screen that's not being used on the Sony. Now if we go to the LG, it goes right to the edge of the display area. You can also tell here at the top, there's not as much area on, or sorry, at the top you can see that it's basically zooming into the screen on the LG. So we can go in and fix that. It's just something interesting to point out. And since we're going to change the aspect ratio, I think I'm actually going to put the M Classic into full processing mode, just so, yeah, anyway, that's another topic for another video, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, there we go. So now the M Classic is in full processing mode. Just wanted to, since we're going to be changing the aspect ratios manually, I don't want it to fight with the M Classic. Yeah, usually it works, but anyway. So let's go into the Sony first. I'm not entirely sure how to do this, but there's probably, okay, so here we have wide mode. There we go. So they just call it normal. Wow, I actually really like this about the Sony. It just kind of goes in and just finds, or I mean, like all the settings that you need are just right here, really easy to find. So yes, we do just want normal. So now we have the correct aspect ratio on the Sony. And now, let's see if we can find it on the LG. I'm guessing it's not going to be an optimizer. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put this back into default settings for standard. Just, oh, actually it already changed it. Okay, that's cool. Okay, I can respect that. So yeah, so although it did keep the blue light, reduced blue light, I'll turn that to off, I guess, just so it's on the default. Well, I'll turn it to low 1, I guess, just so it's closer to the Sony. And then I'll keep the motion onto auto. Alright, so now to fix the aspect ratio, let's go into all the settings on the LG. See, it's not quite as intuitive to find stuff. I guess it's not bad though. Alright, so we're gonna do just scan. Now watch this. When I turn this, it's gonna suddenly zoom out and show more of the picture. Did you see that? So see, when we zoom, so when we turn it to auto or to off, then it kind of zooms in. I think that's because there's actually, yeah, there's little black bars on the side, so it just zooms in everything, so it's using the full screen, which is fine, but I don't know, I like to see everything. So, okay, and then let's see here, and then of course we need aspect ratio, so 4:3. Alright, there we go. That is one thing I like. They actually call it 4:3, and so I think Sony called it standard, which I guess that is what it is too, but anyway. Alright, so there we go. So as you can see, this is the original Nintendo 64. Got our Nintendo 64 controller here. And, well, I can tell you this right now, the text looks cleaner on the 64. Alright. Oh, and then also, yeah, that thing where the Switch was putting the crosses in their faces, that is non-existent on the real hardware. So, and by the way, it wasn't just because it was the Japanese version. I've also noticed that on the English version. I just pointed it out. But anyway, let's go and I guess choose Toad again. Actually, let's be the best character in the game. All right. So yeah, that is cool. Oh man, those loading screens, it's completely black. I'll turn down the volume a little bit. Alright. So yeah, this isn't exactly what this video is about, but boy, having those black, just completely black sides, instead of having the off gray on the Switch, what a difference. It looks so much better on the 64. Yeah, this looks very, very nice. Now, I will admit, the Switch is rendering at a higher resolution, but, so, you know, some things will look better on the Switch, I think. But overall, like, everything just looks smoother on the Nintendo 64. So, like, the mushrooms at the top there, for example, or any item, really, on the Switch, it looks very, Like, you can see all the flaws, whereas on the 64, and even going through this Super 64 and the M Classic, like, it's just all smooth. It looks like a 3D object instead of just like a, what do you call it? Like a paint, like a Windows Paint project. But yeah, anyway, comparing these two TVs though, yes, holy cow, the Sony is so much brighter. And because it's brighter, I feel like it's bringing out more details. Like, I can see Donkey Kong's fur. This is actually a really, like, kind of a surreal way to play this game right now on these TVs. It's, yeah, holy cow. I'm so glad I still have my Nintendo 64. Because this is not only better than the Switch, but man, it looks so nice on this TV. This, if anyone is interested in getting your 64 to look the very best on a 4K display, I'm telling you, get yourself a Super 64 and hook it up to an M Classic. I will do another video on that. But yeah, because that's not the point of this video. But yeah, this is a very, very clean picture. Looks very nice. Anyway, let's move on to a new... So yeah, so the C1 definitely looks better on this place. Let's go on to a new game. In fact, actually, before we do that, I'm going to go into a dark stage. Just to show that, because since that place is pretty dark, or pretty light. Oh, let's see, it's not going to let me... Alright, this place is dark, right? Got some of that non-HDR headlights on the trucks and stuff. Yeah, so I mean the Switch does it does have a wow effect too, you know, because like these trucks on the Switch are rendered at a higher internal resolution, so they do look better, you know, from a far off distance, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is more authentic as well. I like this look. Anyway, but yeah, so on this darker place, so yeah, it looks brighter on the Sony. It's a more pleasing picture to look at. Although I do appreciate dark as well, but man, I don't know if I'm really glad I have these two TVs to look at side by side, because holy cow, the Sony is so much better on SDR content. And actually, hold on. Let me just double check to make sure the Sony's in game mode so it's a fair comparison. I didn't notice any lag, so yeah, it is in game mode, so yeah, it's just, they're both in game mode. We already checked the LG with the game optimizer, and yeah, the Sony, I don't feel any lag differences. They both feel super responsive, although I guess I've heard on paper, take that, Luigi, I've heard on paper that the what do you call it, the Sony A80J, or CJ, I guess in my case, it has like 15 milliseconds of lag in 1080p 60 frames per second content, whereas the LG I think has like 13 or something like that, or maybe it's 9, I can't remember, but it's really, I can't tell a difference. Even like let's see which one loads faster. I couldn't tell a difference. So I think input lag is negligible. I don't think it makes a difference. Anyway, let's go on to now Mario 64, since that was another game that we were testing. Then we can also look at what do you call it? We can look at that motion thing on the beginning. Yeah, when you first turn on the game. So anyway. Alright, here we are in Mario 64. And yes, once again, I am seeing that the Sony looks better. I think this is just going to be the common theme. But this will be interesting to see this first part. Holy cow, the text looks so much better on the Nintendo 64 than it did on the Switch. Holy cow, what did they do to the text? Wow. Gee whiz. Holy cow, I can already tell right now, too, the motion is way smoother on the Nintendo 64. Holy cow. Yeah, on both TVs, the motion right there, going under there, was super smooth. So I don't know, it's something with emulating, apparently, on that opening section. Emulating Nintendo 64 games is just a rough job, a rough business. Because boy, look at this text. Ciao. The text is very smooth. Very smooth, very easy to read. And the motion looks awesome. Holy cow. Yeah, this is the way to play these games if you're wanting an awesome experience. I feel like, yeah, anyway. Stay on topic here. We're comparing TVs, not systems. Alright, so now the Sony is brighter again, as I said. Although now I do like the way the carpet looks better on the LG. It's a deeper red. It's probably just because it's darker, but still. I do like the LG look. I will say that. I'll point out what I like and what I don't. But see, like even there, like that screen looked white on the Sony, whereas it looked kind of bluish on the LG. I'm going around here. You can tell that this is being rendered at a lower resolution. Probably look better with what's the thing called? Nulce Tsumai or what's the new one that they came out with? I don't know. But anyway. But yeah, I think if you do have an LG C1, and if you're just, playing it, because I tried this out before on the C1 before I had the A80J to compare it with. And yeah, I thought the LG actually looked really good. So it's really only comparison. When you realize what you don't have, that's when you start to get mad at your purchase. So, yeah, if you watch this video and you have a C1, just don't get a a Sony A80J like I did. Just be happy with your C1. Yeah, because when you compare them side by side like this, it's like, yeah, it's almost literally, I wouldn't say night and day, but to do the comparison, it's like a day and dusk difference. Like the LG looks like you're at dusk, where it's right about the sun's about to set, and it's just kind of hard to see stuff. You might need to start to get a flashlight out. Whereas the C1 is just like plain day, you can see everything. Or sorry, the Sony A80J is plain day, you can see everything. Looks great. Alright, anyway, enough of that. Let's go on to one more bonus game, which will be, oh, almost gone. Come on, get back here. Oh, come on, really? Wow, this is the Invincible Goomba. Look at that, I punched him right in the face. Okay, there we go. Give me that coin. Alright. It's inconsequential, but man. Wow. That was an annoying Goomba. But yeah, motion looks great on both TVs. With the Nintendo 64 on the Switch, it's okay. It looks slightly better on the Sony, but yeah, the LG with that Motion Pro setting on, I think still looks respectable. And just to test this one more time. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to go into this optimizer again. I'm going to turn off the Motion Pro just to see if that turns up the brightness a little bit. I don't think it'll make too big of a difference. Yeah, looks almost exactly the same. I'll just keep that on auto. Since that's the way I would really play this if I were going to play on the C1. But yeah, there we go. So now for a bonus round, we're going to go on to one more game. So stay tuned. Alright, and then for our last game, we're going to take a look at this Zelda Nymphi's Adventure. Very cool ROM hack. And yeah, let's go ahead and turn it on and get started. All right, here we go. Now this is something very interesting. So during when I did the last game and then this one again, I actually watched part of a movie, and so I switched the C1 back to by 16:9. But the Sony switched to 16:9 automatically because it recognized it was a movie, whereas the LG didn't. And now going back into the game, the Sony has recognized that it's the game signal, the 64, and it has switched to 4:3 automatically, whereas the LG has not. And that is actually really cool because it is kind of annoying to have to go into the menu every single time when you're going to change this stuff. So, yeah, which I'm going... Oh, and look, it's not... Oh, actually, just scan's still on, so that's good. But yeah, now I'm going to have to change it back to 4:3. And let's just make sure, yeah, okay. So anyway, that is another point for the Sony, that it remembers which aspect ratio you have set for the inputs. So, yeah. Alright, let's actually just look at that. Yeah, the brightness looks good on both. Whoops, go back. There we go. Excuse me. Alright, and then let's just make sure we're in game mode on both TVs. I wonder if these were smart enough to remember to... Alright, so yeah, so I switched it to cinema because... Yeah, like I said, I was looking at a movie. So the LG did not switch back to game mode. Let's see if this C1... oh, yeah. So they were both on cinema. So, okay. That's okay. And now they're both on game. So, alright, here we go. Alright, yeah, so looking at these two, so yeah, once again, the LG is darker. Come on. Here we go. Yeah, it kind of looks more like a cavern. I actually kind of like the LG in the Fire Temple, although I can see some more noise. It looks a little grainier. I kind of like the LG just because it's more atmospheric, I think. Like even like looking down at the fire here, it's a lot more red on the LG. Move the camera a little bit. Oh, let's take away that menu too. I don't need to show that. Okay. Yeah, but I feel kind of like, I think that from what I remember when I was playing this game on a CRT, I think it actually looks more like the Sony though, the Fire. Or maybe yeah, I think it does. And when I say I was playing this on a CRT, I'm not talking about like back in the day, 20 years ago. I'm talking about like I have, I think I was playing it on a Sony Trinitron like 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Yeah, I play on CRTs as well as OLEDs. So yeah, it's a good comparison. I'll probably do another comparison video. Oh, by the way, look at this place. So before on the original game, there was a bridge here, and like, parts of it were, gone, so you had to jump over. But now, the whole bridge has just burnt up and fallen into the lava. And so how are you supposed to get across this? Well, you gotta use your sword. Ooh, what's that? There's something down there. Oh, never mind, it's just a part of the rock. But yeah, I feel like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like the C1, yeah, it's still darker. I think overall, I think I still prefer the Sony. Yeah. Although I do like the way the fire looks on the C1. Watch this. Jedi skills. Oh yeah. Save those hearts. Oh no, that's interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like the reds could be a little bit better on the Sony. I feel like some of the reds aren't quite as saturated as I remember, but maybe it's just because I'm comparing directly with the C1. Yeah, the C1 does have very deep reds. Let's try going out of this place real quick. Yeah, this is a very fun game. Ooh. I can't jump over the fire though. And that's why they put a torch there. That's very well thought out. Yes, I mean the C1 definitely is darker, it looks a little grainier. I think the Sony does a better job of cleaning stuff up. Let's kind of climb up out here. Yeah. Same thing out here. The Sony or the LG is, yeah, again, scarier. It's like it's more atmospheric. But it's probably just because of this place, because it's darker, and so, yeah. Yeah, let's go out. Oh, I forget. Let's see, these doors change on this game. Oh yeah, that's right, there's a secret exit. Oh, never mind. Okay, yeah, I forgot. That takes you out where the Dodongo's Cavern usually is. Yeah, outside, yeah, definitely the Sony looks better. It's just interesting. Yeah, once again the LG just looks dim. It's Kakiro Beerless. See, they completely remade it. Oh, they caught me. Then they throw you in the pit. They've created a lot of new like levels on this place. Don't make me cheat. Okay. Alright. Fine. I'm gonna cheat. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do the real cheat where you freeze them and then you go up here. Ah, come on. Okay, there we go. Yeah. See on the, I mean, I guess it is kind of an overcast. I was gonna say it looks like it's gonna rain on the C1, but it is an overcast in the game, so yeah, it's just a little, maybe a little too dark on the C1. And again, you can change the brightness levels. But I was looking, and like when we did that before, actually, I think you lose some detail when you turn up this black stabilizer and white stabilizer too much. You turn that up all the way. Turn this one up all the way. Yeah, and it just kind of washes out the image a little bit. And so, I don't know, maybe you'd have to dial it in to something that's a little bit closer. But see, that's the thing, I don't know. I mean, I guess you do have this fine control, and there might be something with on the Sony as well. That actually looks pretty good. I think maybe 15 is a little bit better. But yeah, maybe there's something on the Sony too where you can do that. I haven't really looked, but the LG is just kind of right there. But see, even then, like, oh wow, like even the sand. Oh wow, yeah, the sand looks a lot more detailed on the Sony. Yeah. Yeah, Link's tunic too. Let's look at this guy. Yeah, looks about the same on both TVs, I guess. Oh, never realized that he had like piles of money by him. But yeah. This is a really cool game. Well, anyway. I guess that will do it for now. And yeah, I guess we'll talk to y'all later. Oh, I guess I'll give you my final thoughts. So, yeah, the LG, I think the LG C1 is a respectable TV. I'll just kind of summarize. I think that it does look good, especially in HDR. In fact, I think it actually looks a little better than the Sony in HDR movies. I haven't tested games because obviously I don't have HDR games. But yeah, movies I thought looked better on the C1 in HDR. However, SDR movies looked better on the C1. And then yeah, SDR games looked way better on the, or sorry, SDR movies looked better on the Sony A80CJ. Whereas, yeah, same thing with SDR games, they look better on the Sony. So I guess the moral of the story is that, like I was saying before, Sony, they have a lot of experience with SDR. And I don't know, this is just speculation, maybe I'm wrong, but what were they were making SDR CRTs for like 80 years or 50 years or something like that. And so yeah, I think that they've kind of got the SDR stuff down, and it really shows here where all of my gaming systems are SDR. It just makes sense to get the Sony. It looks so much better. And I'm sure if you just have the C1, like I was saying, you will get used to it and you wouldn't really know what you're missing because your eyes just get used to it. It's really only when you have a comparison then you can be like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, I think LG was definitely focused on next gen features like a lot of HDR, 4K 120 hertz, Dolby Vision, all this stuff that the Sony can't do currently, and who knows if they'll come out with an update. Or there's VRR, that I guess is another cool feature that new systems have, which the Sony I guess can do now, but it doesn't work very well, and it actually looks worse than regular just regular, whatever you call it. I didn't make it. Than just like turning VRR off. That's what I've heard. But yeah, if you have a lot of SDR games, I think that the Sony is definitely the TV to go with. I hope I haven't messed up like saying Sony and LG. Anyway, I think you kind of get the gist of it. And yeah, this is a really cool game. They've redone the Castle Town too. It's very cool. I feel like this is what Master Quest should have been instead of just a remix of the dungeons in the same overworld. This is a very, very, very cool game. So glad I found it. Anyway, and this is on original hardware too, keep in mind. But yeah, I think that's just about it. I think I'm basically rambling at this point. So anyway, guess we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Alright, so I just wanted to test one more movie here. So looking at this with Dolby Vision, this is Star Wars Episode 2. And yeah, I actually do think that the Sony A80J looks better on this movie in HDR Dolby Vision. So yeah, I guess that actually changes my final thoughts. I've noticed on this one, the LG C1, it's just a little like all the skin colors are a little orangish, and it's just a little darker. I think on that one scene on that movie I was watching yesterday, it looked a little better, but now watching this, yeah, I actually do think that the Sony A80J looks more natural in the Dolby Vision mode. The C1 just has it looks like it just has an orange filter over the whole thing. And then also on the C1, there it's just more what do you call it? It just is. It just looks more natural, I guess, and there's a lot more detail in the shadows as well. So anyway, I think that's my final take on this. So yeah, I think really the Sony wins in all categories from what I've tested, even HDR. So yeah, I think that will be my final opinion. Besides, yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't tested games in HDR, but yeah, at least movies, I do like how it looks. So anyway, we'll talk to y'all later. This is The Real Buy. Bye.
Costco starts with C.